Alejandra, thank you for making the time. It's awesome to have you on.
Of course. Thank you. I love talking to you, learning from you, and I'm happy to be here, Brian.
No, it was really great to share the big screen with you. I think we hit it off like pretty instantly, and we had a lot of fun. We won't share any spoilers yet, but I wanted to chat with you a little bit because for the audience, you're very deep in the food industry, and I just got back. I just flew back to California, and I was just so blown away by the food scene in Mexico. Why is Mexico such a special place when it comes to food?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. The first one is just the Mexican culinary scene or the Mexican cuisine actually is just amazing. It's so diverse. It's a world heritage. It's just like a thing that has a life of its own, no? Even if you think you know Mexican food, if you've been to Mexican restaurants, if you've been to Mexico, you don't know it, no? I don't even know the full extent of it, which is what makes it amazing. We have um, so many places in Mexico with amazing dishes, cuisine, techniques that it's really outstanding, no? And obviously in Mexico, we love our food. We love also like service. The hospitality industry in Mexico is one of the biggest industries that actually supports the whole country. So we live, breathe, and eat from the hospitality industry. So that's why we've put so much effort into it and we love it so much. And also, the culinary education in Mexico is has become very good, and we've managed to infiltrate ourselves in like the top rankings of many of these of the food scene in the world with very well-known chefs that do amazing things and amazing collaborations and learning from other like chefs and techniques around the world. So that also makes it even more diverse. Even if the Mexican cuisine has like so many things that about it, we actually keep learning from others, keep learning techniques and applying those techniques in Mexico and making it like better every time. I don't know. You are a foodie, I know, but you tried some of the restaurants here in Mexico City. You uh, got to know some of the chefs. What do you think about it?
No, I mean, look, I probably took too long to get out of my shell and try more. I had a handful of experiences that I loved, and you were kind enough to help me on a few occasions with some of those reservations. So I'm grateful for that. I was just blown away, and I think the whole experience, if you think about it from the entire kind of, you walk in the restaurant to the service, the kind of the speed. Coming back to the U.S., I'm a little depressed because we're super understaffed here. Like, everyone's like, it's all about the tips. It's all about, and you go to Mexico and it's just like world-class service. The food is impeccable. It's very creative and diverse, as you described. And, it's just, it's very unique also. And you've got such a variety so look, it's one of the great things that I'll miss about my year abroad. I'm already missing it. And, I'm happy to be going back soon because there's still so much to explore. Endless amount of restaurants, right?
Yeah, and they have been growing in the past maybe 5 years, which is good. We've gotten a lot of like culinary tourism, and I love it because it makes us become better, no, at that, and also it brings money into the economy in Mexico, which is great. We need it, and we appreciate it.
More power to those chefs that are now charging quite expensive New York prices. I mean, I think I went to I had one of the most, innovative meals, one of the top restaurants, but I was like, wow, this is on par with, the most expensive restaurants in New York, but it was definitely a memorable experience. And so I chalk it up to, one of the, kind of very different experiences that is, I'll have top of mind when I think about, French Laundry and, in Yountville, and, there's a short list. And I think Mexico is right up there.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you experienced that. And I love being part of it. My business is in the hospitality industry, is in the food scene. And I keep like being amazed by everything that we can do and that we are doing in Mexico, and I love it.
Yeah, I want to chat a little bit about that. I mean, as I said, no spoilers, but on the show, whenever there's a food deal, I look right at you and I look at Marisa and I'm like, are they leaning in? Are they, And that's one of those things where when you develop your expertise, you have, you develop a certain skill set, and clearly you've become an expert in the food. But it didn't start like that. I mean, your family has a business in the food industry, but you studied finance, right? And so, both your parents were business owners. Maybe you could expand a little bit what that was like in the beginning, and how you ended up, getting involved in finance as a career. Talk a little bit about that.
Of course, yeah. So I was brought up in a very entrepreneurial family. My dad was very focused on work, on expanding business, on growing something from zero. And in the food industry, he started with a hot dog cart in his university, and then built onto that. And then I just saw him when I was growing up as this creator, as this uh, like very innovative guy that was just like thinking of how to do more stuff. Like he had very different entrepreneurial activities, all in the hospitality industry. But I just saw him create and expand and challenge the food ecosystem here, and try to bring first class experiences from France and from the US to Mexico and to his business, and try to sell it in Mexico. And I just saw him as like this creative mind that was just all business. No, the hospitality, obviously, the food scene and the culinary experiences were his passion, but he was all business. No, how do I create something from scratch? How do I innovate? How do I expand? And that was something that really stuck with me when I was little, and that I wanted to experience. First of all, when I was growing up, I could only think of like becoming a chef, because that's what I was seeing. That's what my dad used to push me to become, and that's what I thought I wanted. But actually, when I was in high school, I realized that that was not my dream. That my dream was actually to be a businesswoman, to create, to expand, to make money, to make something more profitable, and just like to create jobs. And I realized that, and then I decided that what I was really passionate about, as my father was passionate about food and the hospitality industry, but did it through his business sense of creating stuff, I was passionate about business and finance. And I saw myself as I kind of could do it through the culinary world and through the culinary experiences and companies that my dad had created. But my passion was really business, finance, and just like seeing how the numbers work, how to make a company more profitable, how to evaluate a business, how to put a price on something, no? And so that's why I decided to study finance and went into finance. My dad was super against it. He wanted me to follow his career choice for me, which was becoming a chef. But I knew deep down that I liked it. I could do it like as a hobby, but I wouldn't stand it because I was really not passionate about being in a kitchen 24/7. I was more passionate about being running a business 24/7, but not in a kitchen. So that's why I decided to go into business and finance. And then my career took off after that. And I had a lot of career paths ahead of me after I studied finance, right? And thankfully, because I loved it, I ran into the investment banking career path. I wish I could have seen like the VC path, like more when I was younger, but what was in front of me at that time was the investment banking path. And it was a great experience, like a formation for me, because I could understand really how finance impacts a business and how to really understand how a business works and how a business makes money. And that's what I like. But in the end, I always had this goal in mind of becoming a businesswoman with what my dad had already built, because this is what I grew up in. I used to work since I was very little in the business. And the fact that I wanted to be behind the desk and not in the kitchen didn't separate from the fact that I actually loved and was very thankful and very appreciative and very happy with what my dad had built at Ambrosia, right? So when I was in investment banking, I thought, okay, yeah, I love this. I love this experience, but I think I want to learn how to actually run a business if I want to do it at some point. And that's when I transitioned to Alsea. Alsea is one of the largest food operators or restaurant operators in the world. It grew as a family business, and I had worked there. I had an internship there when I was studying my BA, and I said, okay, I want to go in the finance part, but in a business that is similar to mine, so I can understand really how a margin, how a number really affects the operations of a business, right? So Alsea operates Starbucks in many countries, and the most important one being Mexico. And so I transitioned to become the finance manager at Starbucks Mexico. And I was very excited about that because I really wanted to understand, how do you price a coffee, no? How do you make it more efficient? How do you see like really what what costs go into making a coffee, the labor cost, the materials, right? The food cost, and understand all of that, and then how to make it more efficient. And so I was very happy to, and I was very fortunate to have an experience in Alsea. I was in financial planning. I was in M&A. I helped them acquire some of their businesses in Latin America and Spain. And I had just like a very close relationship with the top management at Alsea, with the board, with some of the directors of the board, the CEO, the chairman, and I had to work. I had the opportunity to work hand on hand with them, and it was just an amazing experience. And that's where I realized that I really my my passion was in the food and hospitality business, but my skills were in the finance department, in the business department. And I knew that in order to be successful, I had to match both of those, the passion with my skills, right? And
Yeah,
that's what I
I want to double click on the finance piece in a second, and but before we dive into that, there were certain expectations for you, right? Your dad wanted you to be a chef. It's so hard for people to, they have there's a lot of social pressure, a lot of family pressure. And I've seen this even more so in Mexico and in Colombia and the countries that I've lived in, where like, it's kind of like there's a certain expectation for you, in your career path. How did you kind of develop the courage to be like, I'm going to carve my own path and I'm going to do, what I'm passionate about, and combine that maybe with some of these things that other people want for me? How did you develop the clarity that you were going to kind of go against what maybe your dad wanted for you?
So I actually thought about it for a while, and actually I decided to not go against it. So I decided to be smart about it. I knew that what my dad wanted for me was gonna help me achieve my goals, because I had my clear goal from the beginning. So I knew that what he wanted from me was actually gonna help me, and I wanted his support. I didn't want to go full on against him. I wanted his support because I actually wanted to learn from him on the business side. And I knew that if I went against him, I wouldn't gain as much as I would lose. And so what I did is I studied culinary arts first. I went to chef school. I studied that for 2.5 years. I finished. I graduated. I went to New York and finished with some courses there at the French Culinary Institute in New York. And and after that, I studied finance. So I first said, okay, I'll go along with you, but only if you let me study business and finance afterwards. So I'll give this to you, but you have to give this to me. So I started negotiating from when I was young. So, and I'm very happy that I did that, because being like going to culinary school actually helped me understand and has given me a lot more skills than I thought to run a business in this industry, right? Because now I know what it takes to make a dish, to actually have or retain talent in that space. Because that's one of the things that I tell founders or people that work in a business to do. Like, you actually have to learn how to do all of the things in the business that you are in and that you are managing. No, you have to learn what it entails. Not only like be in your office in your high chair and look at everything and try to give orders, but actually live it and know what it takes to accomplish what you want, and be part of it. So I'm very thankful that I actually did that. And I came back to that so a couple of times. So I went to culinary school. I learned that. I learned how to actually cook and what it entails and what a business in this industry needs and everything. And then when I worked at Alsea, one of their training parts in Starbucks is that everyone that works at Starbucks has to be 2 weeks in a store, actually being a barista, and has to go through barista training. And so I went to barista training and I understood all of that. And that helped me become a better finance manager afterwards in that space, no? Because I knew what they were talking about when they talked about costs and supplies, and when I was doing a budget for a store, and when I was evaluating if we would open a new store, no? And the same thing afterwards, during my MBA, I took my in between the 2 years of the MBA, I went to do an internship at Danny Meyer's Union Hospitality company, no, Union Square Hospitality. And I actually asked I applied as an MBA to a college internship, which was good because in the end I wanted to learn how the business works from the core. And I got an opportunity to transition to different roles. I even went like on a delivery truck to deliver the food. I worked on the kitchens, on how to actually design a kitchen for a new location, right? For a Shake Shack or whatever. And all of those things, all of those experiences have made me be as an empathetic leader, to understand the business, to be able to talk to the people that work. I have 400 employees. Most of them are operating people, are cooks and line cooks and servers and drivers and whatever. And I can talk to them. I can understand their challenges. I actually have a lot of empathy for the work that they do, and I understand how they're important in my business. So that's actually one of the biggest advantages that I would say that I have gathered during my career. And That's something that every startup founder has to do in order to be successful in a business.
100%. I think that this is one of the most critical pieces when you haven't, got out there and experienced it. It's hard for you to lead someone when you're like, the person you're leading is like, you don't understand what this is like. And so the fact that you're kind of getting your hands dirty, it's so fundamental and such an important example to lead by doing, and rather than just sit back, as you said, kind of in your ivory tower and just kind of direct and command what people need to do. It's a credibility builder, right? And so I think that, and the same thing applies, I think, at the very earliest stages. That's why founder-led sales are so important at the early stages of a startup. You got to talk to your customer, you got to understand your customer, and you can't expect someone else to figure that out. And so I think that the same applies to any company. If even if it's for, like you said, 2 weeks in the store at Starbucks, you're kind of how to operate a machine. You understand kind of the fundamentals, and I think that's a really critical piece that everyone needs to do.
And I think people like startup founders have gathered the importance of this on the tech side, right? Because even if you are not like very technical, or if you're not a coder, it's important that you either have a co-founder that really understands that part and helps you through it, or like take some courses, take like the Harvard, I don't know, there's a Harvard course on coding, and there's a lot of courses on coding, and understand just a little part of it in order to understand your business and the fundamentals of your if you have a tech startup, and that. But it's important to remember that it's not only on the tech side, not only on the coding side. We have to actually experience all the parts of our business. Even if it's not a tech startup, you have to go in and understand it.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's something that founders forget, and they kind of delegate everything. And even if it's a minimum amount, like experiencing the process first will give you a lot of credibility. I want to shift gears, and you're in the food business, Ambrosia. For those that don't know, culinary education. And, it's funny, the first, so you have the education piece, and then you have the catering. And I actually came across the catering for the first time the other day because I went to a really swanky, fancy event with a bunch of family offices, and I saw Ambrosia there, and I was like, I know this company. And the food was delicious, by the way. So congratulations. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about those leadership skills kind of in the kitchen. It's such an intense job, actually. What kind of skills do you think apply in the high pressure stakes of being in the kitchen, that's applicable to startups? You're kind of putting the ingredients together to build a great company. What do you think the parallels are in that intense environment in the kitchen and building an early stage startup?
So I would say I love this. I love where this is going. I've never thought about it like this, but this is fun to explore. First, you have to have the right people on the team. On a kitchen, you have to have the right people, and you have to trust them, because the chef can't do everything, right? And you have to trust, and also like give the tools to your line cooks, to your prep cooks, and everyone has like a specific task. In a kitchen, the zones or the spaces are divided. There's like where the vegetable side, the cold part, the warm like kitchen. Every part is very divided. I don't know how to say it in English, but every part is super divided, and there's a specialist. Sometimes you have generalists as well, but usually there's a specialist in everything. And in the end, the dish comes together with all the parts from the different people. And the chef, if you're Lalo, for example, that you knew, the chef is at the end finishing the dish before serving it to the customer. And so you really, first, you have to trust everyone to do their job well and to do the job that you've taught them, right? uh, and but you also have to try everything that comes out of a kitchen, and that's the same thing for a startup. So you can't put out a prototype, you can't put up out a new thing before you've done a test trial, before you've like actually experienced it or tested it with a small population or whatever. So that's first, you have to be trust everyone in the process, have a good team together, no, check everything before it goes to your customer, I would say, and be also brutally honest. So this is something that is really like or that is really familiarized with the kitchen, that the chefs are super intense and super honest, and sometimes they cross a line, right? But you have to be brutally honest to have a good result. No, there's a lot of ways to do this, but you actually have to be able to give honest feedback and brutal feedback to have a good end result. And finally, I would say that because there's a lot of specialties and the chef can't do everything, diversity is key to be able to have a good product, because you need different skill sets to have a good end product. And the best thing to do is to have different profiles that do everything, like that do every little thing in a very good way to have a good product. Because if you try to do everything yourself, you're gonna end up with like a mediocre product.
I love that brutal feedback, and that's something that as a founder you've got to just be ready to listen. And you get a product out there, maybe you get a dish out there, and you're just like really want to know what the feedback is, and then you're adjusting on the fly. You're taking that feedback, and you need to improve quickly, because and it's not like a good chef, I'm sure, it's not like the first thing you do is going to be a home run every time. And it's an iterative process, similar to building a company and building a product. I think there's a lot of parallels. I'd never thought about it either, but you're a food expert, and I love food. I thought we would explore that, but I think that there's a lot of interesting parallels there, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we could like dive really deep into that and find a bunch of parallels to a
We could come
kitchen.
up with tons of analogies are relevant there. And you mentioned diversity. I want to get into diversity and inclusion in a little bit. We'll come back to that. I know it's an important topic for you. You're very vocal about that, and I think it's really really important to have a multitude of experiences and perspectives to make an amazing dish. I want to talk about that in a little bit, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the investing side. And I mean, look, we're on this show together. We're on Shark Tank together. It was super fun. I don't know. You've been on a couple of years now, so you were a little bit of my mentor. I was always kind of picking your brain. And candidly, for a little behind the scenes here, sometimes I didn't even understand stuff because, like, there was like, whatever, someone would introduce themselves, I wouldn't get their name because it was like a strange name I'd never heard, or or even like I remember a couple times there was like a product and I didn't even know the word in Spanish because it's different in Colombian Spanish. So I would like reach out to you, but I would love to hear without any spoilers here, the experience. How has that kind of shaped and evolved your professional career being on the show? We went and had dinner the other night. I invited you with a bunch of CEOs. You wore a hat, down there because, you're more recognizable now. No one knows me yet because I'm new on the show, but how has that, shaped and evolved your professional career over the last couple of years? And, talk a little bit more about what the experience is like, from, as a shark.
Of course. First of all, I'm actually every day I am surprised by how this has changed my career. No, saying yes to Shark Tank really changed my path and the path that I had forged for myself since I was very little, but in a good way. I'm very happy that I said yes to Shark Tank 3 years ago. and I'm in it for the ride, and I'm having a lot of fun. But I have to say that when I came back and came into the hospitality industry, and I kind of felt like I left the finance side and went full mode in CEO mode, hospitality, operating business, and kind of my financial side was a little lost. And I tried to keep in touch with that by being by investing in a couple of VC funds and being an angel investor in some startups to like keep my financial side engaged. And then I realized that I actually really enjoy and love being part of the startup community and the VC community, right? It's something that really is something that I feel passionate about, like helping businesses run, start, grow, become successful, whatever, no? And for me, being in Shark Tank has been super positive. First of all, I love that I can represent women that are investing, that we don't have a lot of women in the investing world. And I think it's something that we lack. And I love to be a representation of women investing in other startups and in the startup scene. And secondly, I love watching businesses start and grow. I feel like connected to my dad in that side, like his entrepreneurial spirit. And for me, it has been like a life-changing experience because I keep learning from young people, from startup founders, from like the challenges that they're seeing in their industries, in their communities, in the world. And I love being part of that. Secondly, I feel like I'm contributing to the country because Mexico has a lot to offer, but we haven't really reached our full potential. So I'm trying to help us do that. And finally, I love learning from the other sharks that definitely have more experience than me, and from the startup founders, right? So what I love about it is that we all have different backgrounds and we all have different experiences. This season, I loved having you on board because you brought that more financial VC part of investing into Shark Tank that I think we had been lacking for the last couple of years. And just listening to you talking like these financial terms and asking very like specific questions and very like detailed questions from a startup founder that has been through it all has been was a really, really nice experience, not just like from the business side, but more on the startup side, and has been amazing. And finally, I've gotten more connected to all of this ecosystem that is really interesting, that is very financial, and that is actually where the next big companies are going to come from in Mexico and Latin America. So it has been very fun. Obviously, it comes with a lot of things. So yes, you will be recognizable pretty soon once this launches, which is like right around the corner. And it's good because I feel very fortunate because we inspire people to launch a business, to create, to innovate, and to put themselves out there. And I think that's what Mexico needs. And I'm very happy to be part of it.
No, it was so much fun. It was a great experience for me, and everyone was really welcoming, and I feel like I made friends in the process. I was a little self-conscious about my Spanish sometimes because I'm not a native speaker, but we'll see. Hopefully, they make me look good on the editing. I did my best effort, and I think it hopefully it comes across as I intended.
You did very well you made us laugh a lot with your paraphrasing or your translations into Spanish, your literal translations into Spanish. But I think
Yes.
it's part of the flavor. And I mean, having a gringo on the team, on the shark side, is very good because actually, I love the entrepreneurial culture that the U.S. has educated people on, and you have lived through it all. You were very insightful. I just loved having you next to me. We had so much fun. And I hope some of our investments pay off and give us a good return, because in the end, that's what will make this become better and better, and like really grow and have an impact the way that we want it to have. So let's keep like working on it, and let's hope for the best. No.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that it's a great experience. And as you said, I think that there's, some good opportunities that, we'll see. And, these things take some time in order for you to see what works out and what doesn't. That's part of the game of investing.
Yeah,
What is your
everyone
thoughts
asked
on?
me like I've only been there for like I started in 2021, so this is gonna be my third season, and everyone keeps asking like, what is the best investment that you've made on Shark Tank? Like have you gotten returns from your investments? And I'm like, it's only been 2 years since we invested. Like, it's gonna take a lot more time because these startups like are really, really early stage. So it's not even like it's gonna take 7 to 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
Let's hope some of them like take fewer than that. But I mean, in the end, that's the startup world.
Yeah, that's the investment horizon is, it takes some time for these companies to mature. And sometimes I've had the experience where some companies where I'm like almost like written off, and then they come back and then they're like, oh, we're actually doing really well. So it's a crapshoot sometimes. And early stage investing is high risk, high reward. And, it's hard to know. I have a question for you, because it's my first time I'm being in the public, right? How do you deal with like the hate that exists too? Because I'm already seeing like it was so funny. I read one of the, it's hard not to read the comments, but it was like one of the first comments, ah, qué bueno, un gringo promedio. Like, so, I think I have thick skin, but I've never been the subject of public discussion before, where people are really mean online sometimes. How do you deal with that? And, do you read comments when people write about you?
Yeah, of course, I read the comments, not all of them, but sometimes like I don't have like, I want to relax. I'm on Instagram and I start reading the comments and I'm like, oh no, I don't take anything personally, and I don't really care about what is said. And I know and I trust that what I'm doing is actually good and is going to help people. And I know that I have my fans out there as well, and that people like it. Other like I know that, so I am confident. I have a lot of confidence in myself, which is good and bad sometimes, and I just take it as it is, and have some fun with it sometimes. So sometimes I reply, sometimes I just let it go, and I just keep doing what I think is me. Go with it, go with the flow, and relax and have fun.
Yeah. Don't take it too personally. That's a good reminder. It's hard not to sometimes, just because, we're all people, right? We have, feelings. And when, when you're on the internet and you're anonymous, people, forget. And, but at the same time, there's positive and it's just, I think it's part of, I remember the first couple times that I got some like hate messages, and I was like, wow, this doesn't feel very good. But then I talked to some other people that had experienced a lot more, were much more public, and and I guess it's kind of par for the course. It's kind of the good and the bad. In your case, you're a major spokesperson for the LGBTQIA plus community, and that's it's something that you've really embraced that as a as a almost like a responsibility, and you're clearly passionate about that. And I think that that's something that people probably really look up to you, because you're a great spokesperson for that community.
Yes, I mean that is one of the reasons that I decided to be on Shark Tank as well. I think I would have loved to have someone like me to look up to as a businesswoman, as a open lesbian on TV, as a woman investing. I would have loved to see more examples of people like me when I was growing up, and that's what I think when I'm up there, right? So I want to be this example for younger versions of myself, and so they have someone to look up to. So we also change the perspective on the community, on the LGBTQIA plus community. So we start seeing other examples of the community, especially in Mexico. We still like have some stereotypes of lesbians or whatever, and I want to be able to change that and to like show people that you're like whoever you are and whoever you decide to be doesn't have to influence or change the path that you take professionally, and that you can be successful and be a business person and be a shark even if you are a lesbian, a woman, or young, no, or whatever. So that's why I take it so seriously, and I just want to set an example for other people out there and to give people hope and give role models that I would have loved to have when I was a kid.
No, it's super important, and it's you are such a positive role model. And it's funny, before we got on the show, I did a little like diligence on everyone. Like I have a few friends that are sharks on other shows, and they were like, "Yeah, don't go head to head with Alejandra. She's too smart and quick. She's quick witted." And I saw that in real time, because you're very snappy and fast, and so it was interesting to see that, because it's being filmed live, right? And so like you have to be able to think very fast, and given that I'm translating from English, I'm not quite as quick, but no, but it's great that you're out there being an example, and it's very impressive what you've been able to build, and you've got a big responsibility kind of elevating this next company, and you're an active investor, and so it's definitely, I'm sure there's a lot of people that look up to you, and I think it's great that you're a role model for many other people, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you and Mercedes too. Right when we first, our first recording, we went out and had dinner afterwards, and with Marisa and her husband, and so it's been fun to build friendships also on the show at the same time, and I feel like my experience in Mexico is just so positive. I came to Mexico with the intention of like making sure my kids learn Spanish, and I never imagined that I would be on this show, and so it really worked out for me because I got to expand my horizons a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's Shark Tank. The whole essence of Shark Tank is so great, for like everything that it represents, and what it has done in Mexico, in the US, in other countries, and to be able to be part of it and to enjoy it, you and me, have fun, actually invest in these companies, and do the work, teach, mentor other entrepreneurs. I think it's super valuable, and I'm super grateful to be part of this and share it with you.
What's funny is that I talk to people about it, and people, the first thing they ask me is like, "Is it real?" People think that it's not real sometimes, which is and the first thing I'm like, "No, it's real. Like, this is real money you're investing. You don't have, we get on the set, we don't know like who's coming up, like." Right when we see them, we're like looking at the display, trying to figure out what they do so we can have a little information. But it's like, it's very raw, and it's I think that's what makes it interesting, because we have to assess and respond so quickly. And it's funny because at the beginning you're like you see something, and for those that don't know, you have like a way that you commit to deals, or a way that you get out of deals, right? Which is estoy fuera, or I'm out, or estoy dentro, o te voy a hacer una oferta, I'm going to make an offer. And so it's it's quite interesting to see that it's really not scripted at all. And I think people don't realize that because it's so much on TV. There's a lack of trust on TV sometimes because so many things are scripted. So, but I had no idea what to expect. But for everyone that asks and those listening, it's real unscripted television.
Yeah, I thought that when I was first coming in, I thought, okay, so they for sure give us like a one pager on all of the startups that we're gonna see, so we can read it beforehand and then come in and have a little bit more knowledge of the opportunity and be able to ask smart questions and decide if we invest or not. And to my surprise, you don't have anything. They don't give you a one pager. You don't even know the name of the company before you step into the set. You can't have your phone out. You don't have like any tools at your disposal. You don't have a calculator. You have to do everything there on the fly, and you have to decide in 30 minutes if you make an offer or not. And a lot of people have said to me, for example, that, oh, why did you make an offer to these guys? Or that idea is so dumb and it's not going to be successful and whatever. And I'm like, yes, you don't know what it is to be out there. And with the information, we had this information, and my instinct was to make the deal. And the reason that I'm a shark is because of that instinct, right? And if it works out, if it doesn't, well, that's on me, and I keep learning. And I have been fortunate to be on different seasons, and I've been evolving as a shark as well. But it's not as easy as it sounds. Usually, as an angel investor, as a VC investor, you have a meeting with the entrepreneurs. They present a whole pitch deck to you. You have time to think it over. You do some due diligence before you decide if you're going to make an offer or not. And then you invest, right? The process is long. You have a lot of opportunities to talk with the founders and to decide, to research, to talk to customers, and a lot of diligence. And it's very different. So it is actually hard, because as a shark, you also are putting your money on the line. And people think, oh, they give you some budget, so you invest for them. No. It's our own money. It's our own budget that we're investing. And it is part of the experience, but everything is super real. And the only thing that happens is that they cut some parts because we see the pitch in 30, 40 minutes, and they have to air it in 8. So they edit a bunch of stuff, but everything that happens is actually real.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Sometimes it's funny because, you'll start talking and then I don't know, something, a couple of times it happened to me where we had to stop because I was wasn't making any sense, or and they have obviously cut those things out, but they do that very rarely, right? That rarely happens. And, someone's cell phone will go off or something, but it's pretty cool to look at the set, and, there's a camera on you at all times. It was very weird for me for the first 2 pitches, because I was kind of self-conscious about literally the camera's pointing right at you. And, I have no experience with that, but I think very quickly you kind of forget about it and you just get into kind of natural, your natural, state. But it's, it's quite an experience. And I hope I'm invited. I hope people like me. And then I hope I'm invited to the next one. I think I would definitely do it again. It was a lot of fun to do. And I really, just in closing here, really enjoyed, working with you, getting the feedback. And we had a lot of fun in between recordings. And so it was a great way to kind of connect and it's just a fun environment to be in.
Yeah, no, it was so much fun. And in the end, we don't want to spoil anything, but we'll probably be seeing each other more often than we thought, because we have some deals together. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that was super fun. It was super fun to to be in some deals together. So, well, anyways, listen, thank you so much for making the time. And I'll definitely let you know when I'm back in Mexico City. I'll actually be seeing you in a few days, and so that's going to be fun to do the press junket, and this is a little primer for that because we're going to be interviewing. I saw the schedule, pretty crazy amount of interviews we have with all these different, and I think we're in the same team, so we're going to be kind of hitting the road together on the press scene. So I'll be following your lead.
Yes, no, it's gonna be super fun, and it's just like an incredible experience, and I'm happy to be part of it with you in this season. It's been like, I think it's the best season I've been on. This season is definitely, we got to see the best pitches, the best startups, the it was the best sharks. It's just like it's gonna be a great season, I think, and I'm happy that you were part of it.
Gracias. Un abrazo. Thank you again. And we'll see you very shortly.